Hello, so today I'm going to show you how to crochet the Oreos cookies, and there are two methods that I want to show you guys. One is the traditional method where you crochet the entire cream center, and we're just going to tie it at one end of the stitch, and this is what our Oreo cookies would look like. And then the second method is to use hot glue and other materials to help keeping the Oreo shape stiff and provide stability. So this would be our second method. You will need a box of Oreo. Now I'm just kidding, you don't need that. So let's get started with our tutorial. We're going to use this orange yarn right here instead of the black one, so it would be easier for you guys to see. First, let's get started with our magic ring. You're going to move your middle finger up as if you're going to flip someone. Then put your string underneath it, but make it sure it's above your index and ring finger. Then you're going to make a loop by flipping the tail end and then use your thumb and ring finger to kind of pinch it like this. Then use your hook. You would go in and then pull this yarn through the loop. Pull your hook up, and then one more time you're going to put your hook underneath the yarn and then pull it through the little small loop that we just made. Alright, and now we have our first ring. And then you're going to make your first single crochet within the ring. So slide the loop up your hook, put your hook inside the loop, and then go underneath the yarn, yarn over, pull it up and out of the loop, and now you should have two strings on your loop. So this part you might have to finagle a bit to pull everything taut. So, and then you're going to put the hook one more time underneath the yarn and then pull it out through the two small loops, and here we have it, our first single crochet on the loop. So we're going to continue this for 5 more single crochet. So again, pull your hook inside the loop, under the string, pull the string through the loop. Now you have 2 loops on your hook. So pull things tight and flat like this. So when you put your hook underneath the yarn and then over, your single crochet would lay nice and flat inside the ring. So if I were to flip it over, this is what it would look like. And then one more time, hook go inside the loop, out underneath the yarn, pull the yarn through, and then hold everything nice and flat, hook underneath the yarn, pull the string out, and here you have it, our third single crochet. So I'm going to keep going and we'll meet you at the end. If you need help seeing this part, go ahead, feel free and rewind it or even slow down, and then we'll meet at the end of this round. So once you get all 6 single crochet on, you're going to take your yarn tail right here and then pull everything tight. This is when the magic comes in. You're going to pull it tight, but not too tight, as we will still need access to this first single crochet right here. And here you have it, our first round for a total of 6 stitches. Okay, so now let's start our round 2. First, just pull up a big loop here so you don't lose your place. And then you're going to take a toothpick or anything small and sharp. But be careful with sharp things. So you're going to kind of loosen up the first stitch so we can do following round. Sometimes like it can be tight, so this is what I like to do, kind of loosen things up. So for our round 2, we're going to do increase. What an increase stitch is that you're going to put 2 single crochet in 1 stitch, and that would be an increase stitch. So remember, increase equal 2 single crochet in the same stitch. So first you're going to kind of pull your hook back, push it through our first single crochet from round 1, yarn under, pull the yarn through, and now you're going to do a normal single crochet. And then one more time, same loop. Poke your hook in, pull your yarn through, go underneath the yarn again, and then pull through the 2 loops. And if you have a stitch marker handy, let's go ahead and mark where our first stitch of round 2 starts, otherwise we'll forget. If not, you can always use another color of string to put through as a marker. Or if you have really good memory, you can just remember it, but I wouldn't advise for that. So, okay, so now we got our first increase stitch. Let's work on our next increase. Again, pull your hook through the second stitch, yarn under, pull through, single crochet. Sometimes this can be tight, and for amigurumi it is recommended to have your stitches tighter. Otherwise, whenever you fill it up with cotton, there would be holes showing, and it's not a really good look. But for demonstration purposes, I'll make it looser so you can see what I'm doing. But you can already tell that if you don't pull your yarn tail tight, there's going to be a giant gap here, or if you don't crochet tight, there's going to be a gap here. And don't worry about this, we can pull the yarn tail once we finish round 2 as well. And again, actually I'm just going to make it quite loose so that I can demo for you guys. Okay, so just keep making increase stitch until we get to the end of round, which is the stitch before our stitch marker here. Oh, actually, let me show you something. So sometimes the yarn might be loose. So what you can do is you can take your pinky finger, kind of twirl it once, and then put it above your ring finger, underneath your middle finger, and then above your index finger. So that you create like some sort of pulley system, a tighter one. So it's not too loose and come off your hand if the yarn is smoother, it's looser. Okay, but if it's too tight, you can always loosen the pinky grip like right now. Okay, it was too tight for me, so I'm just going to loosen it and go back to where we started earlier. That would be 2, 1, 2, and then our last increase stitch here. Okay, so now we should have a total of 12 stitches. So you can, of course, pull your yarn tail again so that the gap will be closed. And now here you have it, round 2, total of 12 stitches. Okay, apologies guys, I just count my stitches off camera and it seems that I'm missing a stitch somewhere here, so I just redo it. Now we should have a total of 12 stitches. So next, let's go to our third round. We're going to do one single crochet and then 1 increase. So here you can take your stitch marker off, and then we're going to do our first single crochet. So you're going to once again put your hook through and then pull it over and up, pull your yarn through, and now we're going to stitch marker it. Okay, and then remember our increase stitch from previous round, so 2 single crochet in 1 same stitch. So pull your hook in, and then this part might be tight, so just take your time with it. As you can see that I'm struggling as well. and I'm already using a bigger hook than this yarn called for. Okay, so that's our increase. So now we should have our first set of 1 single crochet and increase for a total of 3 stitches, and we're going to keep until the end of round. And here you have it, end of round 3 for a total of 18 stitches. Now let's proceed to our round 4. If you notice that this is about to form a pentagon shape instead of a circle, you see this corner here, 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 and here where my finger is holding it. So these corners are kind of formed from our increase stitch. So what we want to do is that we're going to smooth this out. How do we smooth it out? We're going to stagger our stitch. So remember before we do our single crochet and then an increase, right? By smoothing it out, we're going to switch the order by doing the increase first and then a single crochet next to it. So let's start an increase by doing 2 single crochet in one same stitch. So that's our first stitch. You have your stitch marker, go ahead and remember and stitch it so that we remember. And then again, 1 more single crochet in that same stitch, and that would be our increase stitch. So now we're for our second stitch, we're going to do just a single crochet. And then 1 more single crochet. You won't see the smoothing effect yet until we do a second set. So here we have our first set of 1 increase stitch. Here, let me flip it this way so you can see it. 1 increase stitch and then 2 single crochet for a total of 4 in this set. Okay, so let's work on our second set. Again, increase stitch. Followed by 2 single crochet. Remember what I said about doing tight stitches earlier? This is why it's hard for me to push my hook through. Okay, so now remember what I said about smoothing it out. If you look at it from this side, you can see that we don't see that bump in the corner anymore. This is why we stagger our stitches. So let's continue until we finish the round. Okay, here we have it, round 4 for a total of 24 stitches. So now let's proceed to round 5. So remember what I mentioned earlier about the pointy edges? Since we stagger our stitch, it's smoothed out and it looks more like a circle now, right? So for round 5, we are going to just do single crochet around it, but we're going to do it in the back loop only. So let's do it in our back loop. So if you look at our stitch, we have the front loop, which is the loop that are closer to us here. And then this is the back loop because it's behind this. So we got the back loop. Simple, right? And so do a single crochet as normal, but when you push your hook through, make sure you do it from the back loop like this. Okay, let me take it out so you guys can see. Back loop, and then yarn over, pull the yarn through. Okay, and then we're just going to do the same all throughout until we reach the end of round. Here we have it, round 5 completed with a total of 24 stitches. So now we're going to cut the yarn tail, and that would be the completion of our first cookie. So let's pull it back a little bit. You don't want it to pull back so much, and you're going to cut about 6 inches of yarn. So after you cut the yarn tail, you have two choices. One, you can pull this all the way through and then we'll do an invisible stitch, or you can do a slip stitch and then we'll proceed to invisible stitch. So a slip stitch is when you take your hook and then you do it through the back loop, and it's just for this case because we did back loop earlier, so we did back loop. But if you're finishing a round with 2 loops, then you do 2 loops. So you're going through the back loop, put the yarn under the hook and pull it through. So remember, in our normal single crochet we'll just do this and then pull it through, right? But we're not doing that with a slip stitch. So once you pull the yarn through this loop here, you would just go straight through the loop that's already on your hook. So that would be our slip stitch. So next we'll do an invisible stitch. Honestly, you don't have to. You can just end this round right here and we'll proceed to our next section. However, I like to do an invisible stitch because I think it just looks nicer. So if you look at this, we have this weird gap right here and I don't really like that. So what I would do is I take our threading needle, and you might have to wet the end a bit to thread it through. Otherwise, the yarn would just spread everywhere. So after that, to do an invisible stitch, you're going to skip this next one and then proceed to the one after that by going behind the loop, pull it through, and you're going to flip your work over. And remember, this is our last stitch, remember? And you're going to poke your needle through that stitch, pull it up, and then pull the yarn tail out. And ta-da! You don't have that weird gap anymore. And that's it. This is our first cookie. So now you're going to repeat the same process for a second cookie, and then I'll show you how to do the cream and we'll attach everything together. Okay, so now that we finished with making our 2 cookies, I actually have 3 here to show you what happened. So I was making this cookie, and then when I make a second one, look at the size different. Yeah, because this one I crochet too tight, and then this one is my normal tension. And so, okay, I have to redo and make another one so that they're equal size now. I also make another one in a different color to represent the cream in the center. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to stack them together to make a cookie like this. So first, let's hide all of our yarn tail here. So there are several choices that you can hide your yarn tail. First, you have to decide which one is going to be your right side up. So as you can see in crochet, normally this would be our right side and this would be our other side. But truly, if you're making this for yourself, there's no right or wrong way, just whatever you feel like it. So for our Oreo cookie, I'm going to put the wrong side up so that when we put them together, it'll fit better as opposed to if we were to do the right side up. Do you see how it has that little flip up like this? It doesn't look as nice to me, so I'm going to do it the other way around, but you feel free to do it like this as you like. Okay, and this is what would be our final product look like when you finish with your black and white yarn. So this is what our cookie look like, and you can flip it open like a book, and the cream would stay in the center. Okay, so let me show you how to hide the yarn tail. Alright, here, so once you pick which side going to be our face up side, we're going to take our needles, thread it through, and then I'm going to just go through the center and I'm going to flip the other side up, and I'm just going to weave our yarn tail in either the magic circle or the rows above it. Since this is going to be hidden, you don't really need to be exact. The reason why you're doing this because you don't want your yarn tail to become loose. Okay. Right, and then maybe up here for a couple other inches. Sorry, did I say inches? I meant stitches. This is really tight, which is good in a way because it's going to hide the yarn tail pretty well. Okay. Alright, I think this is good enough. And then I'm going to use a scissor and then just cut the yarn. Be careful when you're cutting, as you don't want to cut any yarn below it. And then when you stretch it, the yarn tail should be hidden. So that's one, and we're going to leave this. Tail here to attach the cream and the other cookie. So you're going to repeat the same process with these two other pieces, and we'll meet back again for assembly. For the assembly, I'll leave you with a couple of choices. So remember to put the side that you want up, and now you're going to stack them on top of each other with off the yarn tail in the same direction, like this. Okay, if this is too much, too many yarn tail just dangling and doing nothing, you can feel free to just cut for one of them or maybe both of them, but I wouldn't suggest to cut all of them, then you will have nothing to attach. Okay, so let's attach it. I would usually, there's no wrong or right way, as long as it attaches, right? So I just kind of eyeball it and then just go through here and then all the way to the other side of the other cookie, like this. That would be one. And then again for this other yarn tail. Oops, okay, I already split them up. We don't want that. Make sure when you thread your yarn through the needle, pay attention, otherwise it will get split. Okay, and then one more time. You can either thread it through the same loop or a different loop. So I'm just gonna do the same loop for now. And now that we have our yarn from our cream, one more time. I'm going to maybe just thread it within itself and then, whoops, it was out of shot. Okay, I'm going to maybe thread it within itself and then through the other side like this. Okay, right, and now you're just trying to open it, see if this is enough. This is how you like it. If not, feel free to thread more around the cream so you have more security between your cookies and cream. I think I'm going to stop right there. Let me use a bigger needle. This one keeps splitting my yarn up. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to hide this yarn tail. Actually, let me just thread it one more time and then tie it up with the other yarn tail, and then I will cut it. Okay, so I'm going to tie it up. I am not removing my needles again. It was such a pain in the behind to thread it back. Okay. All right. Sorry, this part might be chaotic to you. Okay, so that looks so far so good. So now let's hide our yarn tail within the cookie. You're going to flip your cookie up. And then you're going to thread. You're going to thread your needle through it. Again, there's no right or wrong way as long as your tail is hidden. So I'm just trying to find a good spot to hide my tail. Right? So when this is secure enough, you're going to snip it off. Snip, snip. There we go. So we got one yarn tail hidden. And then for this other yarn tail, it looks like it's on this side as well. So I'm going to hide it within here. And then for this yarn tail, I'm going to hide it within here. So we will meet back once we finish with our yarn tail. So now this is what the final product looked like after we finish hiding off the yarn tails. As you can see that our cookie is complete and you can open it to get the cream only. Ta-da! And if you were to use the black and white cream, I won't say black and white cream, black and white yarn, this is what our Oreo would look like. So it wouldn't just randomly flip until you force it. I think it would stay pretty in place. And that's it for our traditional method of making our Oreo and cream cookie.